Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming back on time. We'd like to invite you to take your seats right now because we are ready to begin with our final session of the OPA conference. So for all of our delegates who are outside the hall, we'd like to invite you to come back in with your cups of tea if you want to. No problem. You can continue to have your refreshments while you are listening to our final session. Ladies and gentlemen, our final session is about ensuring economic transformation through advanced digital technology. I'd like to now introduce our session chairman as well as our speakers who will be joining us up. And as I read out their introduction, I'd like to invite them to come up and take their seats. So let's get started by introducing the session chairman to you. We have Dr. Ajantha Athukorale, who received his BSc degree with first-class honors in computer science from the University of Colombo, obtained his PhD degree from the University of Queensland, Australia. Currently, Dr. Athukorale is the director at the University of Colombo School of Computing. He also conducts lectures for undergraduate and postgraduate programs, and he holds the position of the president of the Computer Society of Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for our session chairman, Dr. Ajantha Athukorale. Joining us up next as our first speaker for this session is Mr. Shanaka de Silva. He is a principal heading the technology consulting practice at Ernst & Young. He has held senior management positions for more than 15 years and brings over 14 years of specialized consulting experience at E&Y. His expertise encompasses ERP transformations, cybersecurity, digital transformation, artificial intelligence adaptation, and robotic process automation. He obtained his PhD from the Aldersgate University of Philippines in 2023. Let's now welcome on stage Shanaka de Silva, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker is Dhanika Perera, who is Chief Executive Officer of Bhasha and the founder of renowned Sri Lankan software products, including Helakuru, Pay Here, and Helapay. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering from the University of Moratuwa and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Let's put our hands together for Dhanika Perera. And we have one more speaker to join this session, Mr. Sudattha Silva. He serves as Additional Director General of Customs. He also serves as a board director for the National Gems and Jewelry Authority. He serves on the board of directors of the National Gems and Jewelry Authority, representing the Director General of Customs. He graduated from Sri Lanka Law College as an attorney at law. He earned an MBA in Customs and International Trade from the Postgraduate Institute of Management of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Sudattha Silva. And with that, we're ready now to dive into our final session here at our conference, Ensuring Economic Transformation Through Advanced Digital Technology. I'd like to hand over control to our session chair, Dr. Ajantha Athukorale.
Thank you. I think the last session will be going to be more interesting, and it's useful for everyone because today without technology we can't proceed. Even in the previous session it was mentioned about the technology involvement. So to the growth and we are looking at especially ensuring the economic transformation to advanced digital technology. So there are a lot of things to be discussed. So we have very good three panelists to talk about three different topics on this particular area, and they have vast experiences in their fields as well. So I was very fortunate to have them. And so first I will invite Shanaka to talk about the cybersecurity challenges and solutions for Sri Lankan business, because that is very, very important. Today you might have seen day to day so many things are happening, right? So you are very vulnerable or not. So Shanaka has a lot of experience with his knowledge as well as where he works as well. So I think I will invite Shanaka to take over and start the presentation.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome everyone, and it's an honor to be with you today. So my topic is about cyber security, and particularly looking at the challenges that it imposes for Sri Lankan business and how you overcome it with strategic solutions. Of course, quite a vital topic, and some of you would have experienced the bad side of it very much. I helped many organizations today with Ernst & Young on various recoveries. So I'll be very quick because I understand some of you are not technology savvy, so I'll try to give you a quick introduction, taking about 3 minutes from now, and going into the important side of all the challenges and how usually these threats occur in organizations, and more importantly, how do you become more resilient. So today, we don't much talk about, or it's not been quite practical to talk about how you avoid, because avoiding has become a difficult activity today. So attacks are inevitable. It's just a matter of time. They are going to come to you. Just that some of our organizations are too small and hackers does not have much of an interest. But if they really want, there's ways and means to easily get into you. So today, worldwide, we talk about attacks could occur, but how do you run your business as usual, which we call as the resilience side of it. How you get up and run as fast as possible in between an attack is what is more concerned today. So what cybersecurity is, you can see it's a small subset of the so-called enterprise risk management domain. And it's a subdomain again on a bigger domain called information security, which you can see. It also contributes a majority when it comes to quite an important topic called business continuity. ISO certifications are there for business continuity. Now, why cybersecurity plays a major role in business continuity? If an attack occurs, business cannot be continued. So cyber becomes a critical element of this business continuity as well. And even though cyber is a subset of information security, we talk more about cyber than information security today. Whereas information security is the big brother of the whole thing. Again, why? Because cyber is more digital. For somebody to come to you, digitally is more easier than physically. That's why cyber becomes too vulnerable or too risky. In the last World Economic Forum, cyber became the second highest risk in the world today in terms of economy. So businesses find it incredibly difficult to manage cybersecurity threats. Worldwide, the budgets are so extensive, and even having so much of budgets, you still get into attacks. I mean, there are famous public case studies about J.B. Morgan getting attacked, McDonnell Douglas being the US largest military supplier getting attacked, Google 2010 getting attacked, and Google didn't knew it for 6 months that somebody is attacking them. And it goes on and on. There are many Sri Lankan cases as well, which I don't want to put the names up because it doesn't come to the public domain. But there are many, many examples. Large firms, large global firms operating in Sri Lanka getting attacked and even paying ransom has become a common incident today. So cyber, when I say cyber, it's all about your networks. It's all about your operating systems. It's all about your computers, laptops. It's all about your applications that you use. It's all about your internet websites that you use. It's a combination of all this. And all these are called digital assets. So when your assets become digital, of course, this is a futuristic view. We have to go digital. There's no stop to it, right? But when we go digital over and over, of course, the risk that it contributes increases. That's why we need to protect us from that digital journey, focusing more on cybersecurity. And it's a financial loss. Today, this sector is mostly driven by financial benefits. 10, 20 years ago, for hackers, this has become this was a hobby. But today, it's a financial gain. So the hacking community is quite big. I'll show you some of the examples later on. And of course, one thing is financial loss with a cyber impact. Second is, of course, reputational damage. If a banks get into a bigger attack and if it comes to the public domain, of course, the entire reputation of the bank will have a big black mark. And this has happened in this country multiple times. And the operational disruption, so it will hit your bottom line to the top line, the entire operation. So that's why organizations are quite keen to focus on cyber. Now, just to touch base on, I have a limited time, so I'll go quick. Some of the critical types of attacks, some of them are very common in Sri Lanka, some of them are common in the rest of the world. Now, DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service Attack, very common. I'm sure you could remember this WikiLeaks story when American classified military documents was stolen by WikiLeaks, and when the WikiLeaks went public, US wanted to stop this, but there was no way to stop it. And US followed a mechanism called DDoS. DDoS means you have a public accessible service or a product or an e-commerce site, and you send millions of requests, transactions to that website. And that's what Americans did. They sent millions of billions of transactions to that WikiLeaks server, and the server could not handle. So whenever you wanted to log into WikiLeaks, WikiLeaks could not give you a time slot because the queue was so big. This is called denial of service. This is an easy attack anybody could do to your business. When your business goes digital, when you want to sell goods or services over an e-commerce or m-commerce platform, DDoS is one attack somebody could do to bring the entire e-commerce engine down so that it could not cater for your customers. And customers would try 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then give up because there's other competitive sites that they could get the same service. So denial of service is an easy attack for many hackers today. Damage is particularly on the business disruption and loss of reputation. You advertise about some product that you are going to have on e-commerce, but nobody could reach it to it. Your customers could not reach. Ransomware is very common in Sri Lanka. I actually, even at this point, serve about 5 different customers, particularly on manufacturing sector. Manufacturing sector has not very much focus on information technology, so they have quite a, I would say, poor cyber landscape at this point, comparing to banks and financial companies, because the regulator drives it. So regulator demands to have so much of protection. So ransomware is easily sending you a small email, or it could be a pen drive that a hacker will keep it in your lobby. Somebody takes it, put it to your computer, and from there, a malware will propagate into your network and start encrypting your servers. And a guy from nowhere will ask for money in terms of digital currency, mostly on bitcoins, so that you can't track the person. You can't track the person. So you send the money hoping he will send the decryption code. Most of the time, he will not even send you the decryption code. So you're paying and you don't get a solution as it. So my honest advice is don't pay, because you become a good paymaster and your name will be recorded in the dark web, which I will show you later on, and they will keep on attacking you. But the problem is, when somebody encrypts your server, of course, the data will be lost, and you need to format it, clear it, take it from the beginning. So not an easy thing. It's like restarting your entire business because you might not have data. So ransom is a very big threat. COVID basically increased it during the COVID time. I'm sure many companies in Sri Lanka got attacked because of our remote working environments, which I will come a little later on. So phishing, social engineering is another way. They study you very well. In Sri Lanka, this is still a little low, but it's happening now. They send you an email, again, phishing email, or they study you very well using your Facebook, and they understand exactly what you do. It's a long-term attack, and they will target you and send it. This first happened to McDonnell Douglas in United States. It was a phishing attack because McDonnell Douglas had all the design documents for US military equipment. And to steal that, they targeted a HR executive of McDonnell Douglas. So the phishing attack in an email sent to this poor HR executive, which did not know much about cybersecurity, and she, of course, double-clicked this email. From that day, it took 6 months for the hackers to get into the system, get into the servers, which they record all the drawings, and steal the drawings one after another. Then the question is, for 6 months, nobody knew? Nobody knew. This is called a stealth attack. Stealth attack. Active persistent threat, we call it. It's very common. The same way they attacked Google in 2010, long time back, of course. Same way they attacked South Korean telecom. Same way they attacked many companies in Sri Lanka, even during COVID. So we knew the risk, but we could not, or we have not taken precautions to protect it. Because 2010, this got evolved. And even 2022, during COVID, it came to Sri Lanka. And we got compromised. Data breach, man in the middle is another attack. I will not talk all of it. Maybe I'll go quick. 0 day is very prominent. 0 day is something like when a new patch comes to your, when a new system comes to your computer, the system vendor, for example, Microsoft or Adobe, does not know what are those loopholes. But hackers are looking forward for these new systems, the new versions that emerge. And hackers immediately find weak doors and try to break in within that few days after you install. So McDonnell Douglas story is related to the 0 day as well as combined with a phishing attack. So they succeeded on that. Today, Internet of Things are quite important. Those are sensors for your operations. Internet of Things, we call it IoT. So there's a trend today, through those sensors, you come in opposite direction to your own network. So hackers, it was meant to the other side, you know, through the sensors, you get the data feed so that you can run your business better. But the same way, hackers operate on the reverse way. So the same sensor, they go into the system and try to attack the center. And most of those threats that I have seen in this country, there is somebody inside leaking this information, which we call as the insider. They're very sad. One of your employees, one of your suppliers, leaking some of this information for the hackers to have more knowledge and to have a more easy path to come into your network. I'll move on to the challenges, which is quite important. Again, I'm repeating, it's not about whether you will be attacked. It's about when they will attack and whether you will know when somebody comes. It's like, you can take the same example as your house, you know. When you're looking at your house, what if a thief gets into your house, stays in your house for a week? That's more bigger trauma than thief coming, stealing, and going out. In most of the examples I told you, the thief came into your organization digitally and lived within your organization sometimes 4 to 6 months. And no alarm in the organization was triggered until the thief has stolen many vital documents or data and holds you for a ransom. So according to Gartner, you know, Gartner is one of the most accredited organizations. By 2025, most of the board of directors will have at least an expert to talk about cybersecurity within board of directors. That's the Gartner. Now, why it has become a challenge to organization? This was not the picture, you know, 10 years back, 5 years back, this was not the picture. But today, this is inevitable. We are always at the losing end. We means the customers are at the losing end, where the hackers always are 5 steps ahead than us. We find it incredibly difficult to manage it. Some of the boards, when I explain investment on cyber, the first question they say, no matter whatever we do, they still attack us, of course. We do things to minimize it or to delay it. Why do you put a perimeter wall to your house? Apart from the wall, why do you put a front door into your house and maybe have 2 locks in that front door? Apart from that front door, why do you divide your house into rooms and put a door in your room also. Apart from that, you just don't keep your gold inside the room, but you have another steel cupboard inside your room. You know, you put a lock there also. Why do you have these multiple layers of protection? From the wall to the front gate, to the front door, to the room door, to the steel cupboard. You know, why do you do that? To delay. To delay the thief reaching your gold. It's the same thing. Today, I need time. When somebody is coming in, I need time to take action. To take time, you have to have multiple layers of protection. That's what we are doing today in organization. One layer is not enough. 10 years ago, we had only one layer, which is user ID and the password. We can do wonders with user ID and the password. But today, when you connect to your bank system, apart from that, there's another layer which they send you the OTP, which is another layer of protection. And some of the organizations will involve more layers than that as well. Because we always have a gap between our knowledge and the knowledge of a typical hacker in the society. We have a gap. Our teams always have a gap. And the hacker will always look at this gap and to come through this gap. Same as your house. You might have a very solid front door. You have a security guard also in the front door. But your house is so big, too old, there's a back door which you have never concentrated about. Hacker will always come through this back door. The thief will study you. He will never come through that front door. He will always come through that weak element, which is the same thing in information systems. And if you look at how the threat landscape has evolved, one of the biggest evolvement happened, you can see ATP there in red color, Advanced Persistent Threat. In 2010, when Google was attacked, that was one of the significant attacks. From there, it has grown to malware, to the ransomware, and today we have so much of technologies, 5G to artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, blockchains, RPA. RPA is a very efficient mechanism today. I'm sure some of your organizations, you might have RPA. Today there is a trend even in Sri Lanka. So RPA is like a person, software bot or a robot we call it. So it's like a person working 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, never gets sick, never will complain, you don't pay overtime. It's a human, but digital RPA. So hackers are trying to hack the RPA. If you can hack the RPA, you have all the access that RPA has. It's unlike a human. If you can hack this bot, you can just instruct the bot, get all the data out. It's more easy than hacking a human through social engineering. So that's a big trend that has happened. This is what the dark web is. So what you see in the internet is the top layer only. We see internet is beautiful, very nice. We have Facebook, YouTube, all that. It's about 10% to 15% of this thing called World Wide Web. You have a deep web there for your very sophisticated as well as sensitive data related to various organizations, and organizations will have given access to the individuals to access it. But the very bottom is where the typical hackers live, which is called dark web. You can reach that space. There are special browsers. I don't encourage you to do that, but you could go there. It's a different world altogether. All the criminals in cybersecurity lives. You can pay through cryptocurrency, get a service as well through the dark web. But be careful because you'll be also part of that entire community. So it's very difficult to get out once you get in, But there are tools. Hackers use free of charge tools there. There are credit card numbers that are on sale on dark web, which people could buy, again using digital currency. So that's the portion where all the criminals lives in. Now, coming back to common challenges, I gave you overview quickly. Common challenges in Sri Lanka, we are finding it very difficult to fight over the evolving threat landscape, what I told you before. We find it very difficult. Organizations find it very difficult. Fighting against ransomware, phishing. The second thing is lack of awareness and training. Our staff is not aware. Even our board of directors are not aware. Our IT teams have a bigger gap. So awareness is one of the critical points for the failure. Because if they can get into a human, that's it. It's incredibly difficult to stop. If they can get into one of your employees who have access, it's very difficult to stop from there. Because once they get in access, it's easy for them to escalate to the next level. Most of our organizations has old, outdated systems, legacy systems. If you recall, about 5-6 years ago, there was a big attack called WannaCry. WannaCry managed to penetrate 150 countries in 2 days. It included Sri Lanka, many organizations. So WannaCry was one of the first ransomwares that encrypted our systems and asked for money in digital currency. WannaCry was possible because of an outdated Microsoft operating system called XP. Because we still ran as XP without proper patching, WannaCry penetrated to your systems. If you had replaced XP, WannaCry couldn't have come to you. So that's outdated infrastructure. We find it very difficult to keep up with regulatory compliance. One of the bigger compliance today is PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act. By next year, March 2025, it will be enacted. You are responsible of personal data. Personal data means your customers' data, your employees' data. If it leaks out, you're accountable as an organization. It's equal to GDPR, in Europe. So that's the GDPR version of Sri Lanka. Will be fully enacted in March 2025. Now, if you focus on complying PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act, majority of the cyber security minimum controls will be enforced in your organization, which is good overall. Then, of course, insufficient investments. We are very careful to invest as board of directors. We find it very difficult to find correct resources in the organizations. And we work with many third parties. So if a third party leaks your information, that's again a cyber threat. And there are many examples. I'll take another 2 minutes, Doctor, to conclude. Sorry, I'm running out of time. But finally, the solutions. One big solution is about end-to-end diagnosing your environment. It's not one part only. You need to assess your entire organization. There are multiple security standards, ISO being one, ISO 27001, 20002 is the implementation of that. NIST is a US-based framework. Those are the two most accredited frameworks. You need to benchmark your organization from network to your application, to your firewalls, to your people against these two world-class frameworks. So at least you will know where you are in terms of protection, in terms of cyber risks, cyber attacks. So that is one big holistic exercise, which we also call a risk-based approach to look at, and then prioritize how we are going to fix it over a period of time. Then, of course, we have so much of regulation. Central bank has come up with so much of regulations. Of course, central bank has come up with these regulations for the financial sector. But it's a good lesson. Some of the organizations, voluntary manufacturing organizations, for example, trading organizations, voluntarily look at these guidelines and try to implement in a voluntary basis. Because they know if a bank could adapt to this, we also could adapt to this, and automatically we get protected. Personal Data Protection Act is another important element on this whole cyber exercise. There are other standards as well. And so in terms of solutions, awareness, as I told you, is a critical element. You need to have your staff aware about it. You need to have a moderate amount of investment in the latest technologies. There's no stop to cyber investment. Every year, there's new things happen in technology, new thing happens in cyber. So it's an investment that will go on until you decide to close your business. And also strengthen your regulatory compliance. I said, if you can adapt Personal Data Protection Act, at least you're there up to some level in terms of hardening your network. Collaboration with external experts. There are many organizations which will help you because your internal teams might not be able to do each and everything to protect yourself. So you need to collaborate with external consultant to do that. Have a security cyber culture. Think everything when you design in terms of cyber, particularly if you're on a digital journey, digital transformation journey. and a continuous monitoring and inspection is also a critical element. Well, that basically ends my short presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
ladies and
Shanaka. I
gentlemen.
think, yeah, thanks for elaborating all the things. I think it's very useful for the audience as well. Like, I didn't want to stop you as well. Next, I will request Dhanika. I think he's another champion. So he's going to talk about especially e-commerce because he has a lot of experience in that area. And then on digital payment solutions as well. Over to you, Dhanika.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening to all of you. So this session is about e-commerce and digital payments to drive economic growth. Before that, a little bit about my journey. I am actually an accidental entrepreneur converted from an engineering graduate. And my first innovation was Helakuru. I'm sure most of you know about that. And my payments journey started in 2016 when I actually break into another venture, giving seamless or accessible payment solutions for merchants in terms of payment gateways. And in 2021, I again launched another solution, HelaPay, targeting actually a consumer as a 100% Sri Lankan local payment method for Sri Lankan consumers. And recently, 2023, HelaPay Chat as a novel chat-based innovative payment, P2P payment service for the Sri Lankan consumers. Okay, so in this session, this is what I'm going to cover today. Why, what is the importance of e-commerce and digital payments for the economy, for our economy. The current status, what is the current status, and how we can make the economy digital, and challenges when we actually introduce digital payments and strategies to address those challenges. Okay, so first, if we, you all know that e-commerce is very important in the modern age, right? Even during this time, after the COVID, e-commerce has a major importance. Specifically, there are several important factors when it comes to e-commerce. First thing is it creates a set of jobs, job opportunities, especially into IT, logistics, digital marketing, customer service, which actually ensures the economic stability and the growth. And then for SMEs, small and medium enterprises, e-commerce actually broaden their market. You know, previously, when it comes to brick and mortar stores, your SMEs market is actually limited geographically. But with e-commerce, they can actually target the entire country. And you know, the backbone of the economy is SMEs, and strengthening their market is actually, they will able to contribute more to the GDP. And e-commerce also important when boosting consumption. You know, I mean, when shopping, online shopping made easier to the consumer tends to buy more. It's actually not like before that we had to wait until we go to a shop, or until actually we have time to go to a shop to buy something. Now it's just a matter of taking your phone and, you know, search on Daraz or whatever, and order it online, right? So that actually makes boost the consumption from the consumer's perspective, and it increases the demand for the economy. And lastly, for local businesses, e-commerce actually explore a new opportunity to expand the businesses to global market, which actually impacts in terms of actual foreign exchange inflows and economic diversification for the national economy. And when it comes to digital payments broaden the access of financial services to everyone, even if it is actually a person in remote area, or person do not have time to go to a bank and do the transaction through the formal financial systems. Digital payments allows them to do transactions, do things in the formal financial systems wherever and whenever they are, right? So it actually ensures the financial inclusion. And when it comes to efficiency, now when the payment happens in real time, digitally, you don't have to actually wait for this and that, right? When the payment happens instantly, it ensures the business efficiency for the businesses, for the merchants, as well as for the consumer, it actually ensures the convenience, right? And when it comes to transparency, digital payments means every transaction, every action you do is actually recorded in a traceable trail, right? Which actually reduces the chance for corruption, frauds, and misuse, right? And again, it supports for SMEs. Not actually in the good old days. You don't have to wait until your check clears to get the funds into your bank account. When it comes to digital payments for SMEs, it actually collects directly to your bank account at the end of the day, right? So it includes actually improves the cash flows management for SMEs. And if you talk about the current status of e-commerce in the country, in Sri Lanka, we have to significantly identify now it is actually in a different state, right? Because COVID-19 acted as a catalyst for the growth of e-commerce in the country, and many things that was not possible before is actually now possible after the COVID, right? If you remember, before the COVID, there was very limited online shopping, even if you consider yourself, right? You did very, limited online shopping for your day-to-day needs, maybe for some electronic stuff and maybe for some fashion stuff, right? But after COVID, with that huge leap we took, it has become a day-to-day thing for us, right? It's actually same for many of the population. And even when it comes to online transactions, it was actually very infrequent that we did transactions online before the COVID. But right now, the frequency has gone up. People actually much tend, with that experience that they got during the COVID season, they actually now do transactions without fear. And that also supported by the cards of the banks, right? If you remember, before COVID, many of the debit cards of most of the banks did not support online transactions, right? Only the credit cards, we had to use credit cards to make online payments. But during the COVID time, especially due to this demand came from the educational sector, parents have to, pay for their kids' tuition fees and all that. All the banks, including the government banks, enabled online transactions from debit cards as well. The penetration of debit cards is far higher than the credit cards, so that also counted to that. And previously, mostly people actually preferred cash on delivery, but now they are okay to go with digital payments, right? And also the smartphone penetration increased during the COVID time, right? Especially again due to that education demand, right? For the kids to learn for their studies, people actually started using smartphones than before, right? So the smartphone penetration increased, and the competition in e-commerce also increased after the COVID, and the marketing wholly shifted to digital, right? So previously, actually, mostly we bought items, we purchased things by seeing TV advertisements or, traditional marketing efforts. But right now, it's completely moved into digital, social media especially. And, there are people who sell on, Instagram, WhatsApp Business, Facebook, through Facebook pages, and even TikTok, right? So before COVID, the status of e-commerce in Sri Lanka was in a very primitive stage, but right now we are in a growth stage, right? So to take this growth, we have to make our economy digital, right? I'm sure you may have heard about a digital economy, right, in terms, right? So what actually digital economy means, we have to digitize all kind of transaction happen within the country, right? So that includes the transaction done by all three entities of the economy, the consumers, the consumers do transactions in their day-to-day life for these kind of needs, online shopping, bill payments, mobile top-ups, subscription services like paying to Netflix subscription, Spotify or YouTube Premium, likewise, right? And also P2P payments, fund transfers between a person to person, right? And in terms of business transactions, what businesses do transactions mostly to collect customer payments. Right now, many of the businesses are doing it online, but there's a bit of lacking in terms of it doing physically, especially the SMEs, and invoice management when it comes to mostly the service businesses, and payroll disbursements, paying to the staff, and supply payments, and paying taxes to the governments. So most of these two aspects for the consumer, for the businesses, these are now technologically possible. There are technologies introduced by most of the banks right now through their internet banking portals, through their mobile banking portals, and through third-party local apps, local payment apps. All these are possible, right? So some businesses have already adopted, some consumers have already adopted, some are not. So right now, the gap is actually in the adoption, right? Not actually the technology. And in terms of government, these are actually the possible things for a government, but still we are late in terms of actually introducing these things from the government perspective. Government can actually use digital payments to collect tax revenue and fines like, police fines, and fee collection for various government services, and utility payment collection, and disbursement of welfare, right? So from these perspectives, currently Sri Lankan government use digital payments for some aspects. For an example, now the businesses can actually pay taxes through their enterprise internet banking portals, enterprise banking solutions, but still the consumers, citizens, still there is less opportunities to pay taxes for individuals, right? And even fines, still we are expecting to pay our police fines in an online way, digital way, but still it hasn't happened. In terms of fees, there are some initiatives where it actually collect fees online, digitally. For an example, the revenue license systems for your vehicle revenue license, right? And utility payment collection already there, CEB, water and all that. And disbursement of welfare yet to happen. So if we are to move to a digital economy, we have to digitize, we have to use digital technology, digital payments for all these aspects to cover the transactions of all these aspects, right? And right now, most of them are already happening, and the current challenge is only with regard to the adoption, right? So in terms of the challenges for digital payments, I would like to highlight it in two aspects. One is actually the general concerns that we have, and then the economic concerns. Right now, as I mentioned, the limited literacy on, financial literacy and digital literacy is actually the major barrier which stops adapting all these aspects, all the consumers, merchants, and governments into digital payments. And there are also infrastructure gaps as well. Some areas still have connectivity issues in terms of internet connectivity and in terms of actually device penetration, and limited adoption. So limited adoption actually results due to the lack of knowledge, lack of awareness on all these aspects, right? Even for governments, it actually lacks due to the lack of awareness of government officers. For businesses, lack of awareness of, employees, the staff of businesses, and citizens, the lack of awareness of citizens, right? So these actually has to be addressed by, making awareness and making more and more people make aware about digital payments. But I would more like to highlight the economical concerns that we have in moving towards digital payments. One of the major challenge economical challenge in terms of digital payments is the higher transaction cost. Right now, any entity, it may be consumer, it may be merchant, it may be government, when we are actually moving or transforming into digital payments, we have to bear a huge transaction cost, right? Right now, actually, it averages to 3% because, you know, most of solutions, most of services enables digital payments through international card schemes, which actually charges roughly about 3% from either the merchant or the consumer, right? And again, it actually leaves another concern, which actually losing foreign exchange, right? Now, we using more and more international card schemes to domestic payments means from every transaction, there is a foreign exchange outflow, outflow happens. So we are losing foreign exchange from every transaction that is happening within the country, right? I'm quoting CEO of Lanka Pay, Chandra Silva. As a stat, as a country, we lose 10 billion foreign exchange, 10 billion rupees of foreign exchange per year due to international card scheme fees, right? So this is actually a major challenge, major concern that we have, which we have to address as a country. How we can address that? We have to rethink about the payment solutions that we use, right? That we use as consumers, that we use as businesses, that we use as government. Now, if you think about what are the payment solutions, what are the payment methods that we use in our day-to-day, day-to-day life when making payments digitally, right? We use international card schemes, right? International schemes cards. You may have your Visa card, MasterCard, American Express card, right? And in addition to that, right now, there is actually a national scheme cards. If you have not heard before, now there is actually Lanka Pay cards. Instead of a Visa card, instead of a MasterCard, you can actually use a Lanka Pay card, right? And in addition, we have our banking apps or internet banking portals. Every bank has actually enabled now mobile banking and internet banking access. I just mentioned few of them. And also there's actually now local mobile payment apps, right? Built on top of the infrastructure built by Lanka Pay, specifically Just Pay interface and Lanka QR interface, right? There are payment mobile apps such as HelaPay, Freeme, Genie, iPay, right? Flash, Q+. Likewise, there's a range of payment apps right now which you can use for your day-to-day payment needs, right? And the national scheme QR, which is actually the Lanka QR. So these are actually the payment solutions that is available in the market that we can use for our payment needs, right? But the fun fact is this concern, the economical concern of the cost of digital payments, the 3% fee is only there for this payment mode, international card schemes, right? All the other payment modes which are actually homegrown, national, routed transaction within the country without actually using any foreign party to route transactions, provide digital transactions less than 1% fee, for less than 1% fee, right? So if we can actually strategically select what are the digital payment modes that we use for different payment needs, we can actually cut down this cost, reduce this cost, and even stop the foreign exchange outflows. Now, if you think about the purpose, why we need actually international card schemes, right? Why we need actually, why can't we use the local card schemes or local payment options for every payment? Because the international card schemes actually intended to facilitate the cross-border payments, right? If it is actually a payment or a transaction between two countries, right? Between two, foreign banks, the local payment modes cannot handle that. So there should be international card schemes to facilitate us the cross-border payments, right? So for that, it is okay for us to pay 3% or even higher than that, right? But what is actually the rationale, right? What is actually the rationale of using international card schemes for domestic payments, right? Within the country. if we are to actually facilitate the payment between two entities within the country, what is actually the rationale of using a foreign party or a foreign solution to facilitate that, right? So it has come to a level, the e-commerce or the digital payments in the country, the landscape has come to a level to rethink and reposition what is actually the payment solution offered for different payment needs. So if we can actually offer international card schemes only for cross-border payments, right, it will actually, cost us 3% and even more than that. But if we can actually make all the domestic payments using the national payment schemes and national payment apps, internet banking facilities, and the national payment solutions, we can actually bring down the cost of online payments, digital payments, less than 1%, right? And even actually in practical sense, if you are a banker, if you think about your customer base, right, how much of percentage that your customer, that normal citizens would need a cross-border payment? It may be mostly if you actually are to pay, buy something from AliExpress, right, or to buy a subscription for your Netflix or Spotify or YouTube Premium, right? That is for the online payments. And if it is physical payments, you will only need it if you go abroad, right, for a visit or for a tour, 1 or 2 weeks a year maximum, right? So what is actually the need of actually giving a globally enabled payment solution if the demand, if the need is actually mostly domestic, right? So this is actually something that we have to rethink and reposition the payment solutions offered for different needs, right? And why actually banks cannot actually give a domestic card or a national scheme card for the domestic payment needs, and if the consumer needs international payments, cross-border payments, they can actually get a international card scheme card for that purpose, that need only, right? So if we can do that, we can reduce both of them. And it's not only us, it's not only Sri Lanka has this concern, right? Many of the other countries had this concern way before us, and they implemented solutions way before us, right? If we have heard about these solutions, WeChat and Alipay in China right now actually dominates their payments market, right? Which are Chinese solutions, they are local solutions. And India, Paytm, PhonePe, you may have actually seen their advertisements if you watch cricket matches, right? Which are powered by UPI, their payment network, similar to Lanka Pay in Sri Lanka, right? Those are dominating their payments market. And South Korea, they have their own Kakao Pay and Never Pay, right? And Indonesia, Vietnam, the Southeast Asia, there are solutions, their own solutions, GoPay and Momo, right? And in Japan, Line Pay and PayPay solutions. Every country has come up with their own solutions, right? Domestic solutions to address this concern, right? What is the concern? One thing is actually to reduce the processing cost of digital payments. We are still lagging behind, still actually, using international card schemes, which are intended to facilitate cross-border payments, but we are actually using them domestic payments, having high cost and having a whole lot of foreign exchange outflows happening from the country, right? So we can avoid both of them if the banks, if the financial institutes, if the regulator can rethink and reposition this right payment mode for right payment need. So that's about my presentation. As a summary, e-commerce is vital, important for economic growth, and digital payments is needed to stop corruption, very important these days, ensure transparency and efficiency, business efficiency. And there's a huge potential for e-commerce right now after COVID, and all kind of transactions should be digitized if we are to achieve a digital economy. Not actually, just for saying, but actually to practically achieve this, we have to digitize all of these, right? And the cost of digital payments and losing foreign exchange are the major concerns, right? Right now the major concerns which other countries have already addressed, but we are still, lagging to address. and it can be addressed by strategically positioning right payment solution to right payment need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dhanika. I think with Dhanika's point, like I think he was talking about revenue collection as well. So Mr. Sudattha Silva is there. He will be talking about use of technology for efficient revenue collection. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajantha. Let me first thank OPA for inviting me to be a panelist in this prestigious forum. I think it's an opportunity for me to showcase what we have done in customs. And also let me thank my colleague who is seated in table number 7, Nuan, who introduced me to OPA, for OPA to invite me. Let me start my presentation with a little story about myself. I joined customs 36 years ago. When I joined customs in 1988, everything was manual. If you have come across how customs clears goods when imports and exports are cleared, it starts with a document called Customs Declaration. In 1988, the Customs Declaration was about 2 feet long, about 1.5 feet in height, consisting of 6 copies in rainbow colors. The only device we had was a simple calculator to check the calculations. So these documents were typed using manual typewriters with carbon paper in between for the copies. And it was brought to customs. We used to enter them in registers, maintain huge books, and we had a line of officers to perform different tasks, especially to check the document. And once the document is verified or validated, we move on to physical examination of goods against that declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you through a little journey, because my topic is use of technology for efficient revenue collection. What the responsibility of the revenue organizations in Sri Lanka in using technology, I will deal with that initially and show you what we have done. But before I come to that point, also let me ask a question from the audience. Let me ask that question in Sinhala. Private sector එකේ automation එහෙම නැත්නම් digitization කවුද හොඳටම කෙරුවේ? Yes, bankers and mobile phone operators. They're the, I think my panel will agree with me, they have had the highest level of automation of their business processes, the mobile phone operators and the bankers, mainly bankers. Bankers started very early in 80s itself by introducing the ATM machine. Right, now let me take you through my structured presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 main revenue collecting agencies in Sri Lanka. Department of Inland Revenue, Department of Customs, Department of Excise. All 3 organizations are departments of the Ministry of Finance. Obviously, Ministry of Finance has to collect money for the government. And if you look at the level of automation, or when they have started their automation, this is the summary of the slide. The Inland Revenue Department started their journey of automation way back in 1990. Much before Sri Lanka Customs started, 3 years before, because Sri Lanka Customs started their automation journey way back in 1993. But sadly, the Excise Department is yet to start the automation process. In Inland Revenue Department, they introduced their latest application. It's a home developed application called REMIS, which was deployed in 2016. Sri Lanka Customs started with the core customs application called Asikuda. The first version was 2.5, then we migrated to 2.7, and then we migrated to Asikuda++, and the latest version is Asikuda World, which we implemented in 2011. The difference between REMIS and Asikuda, the REMIS is a homegrown application based on the requirement of the Inland Revenue Department. Fortunately, customs is a global organization. Everywhere in the world you have a customs department or customs administration. So therefore, the UN agency called UNCTAD, you call it UNCTAD as well, UNCTAD developed an application for customs processing which was distributed to the developing countries. So we accepted it in 1993, and when we went through a journey of development, because it is a global application, we had the opportunity to grow a little faster than the Inland Revenue Department. So ladies and gentlemen, from now onwards, let me take you what we do at customs and how we have automated our system for revenue collection. If you look at the functions, this is just an introduction to the customs organization. Customs is a collector. We collect taxes at the border. They are called indirect taxes. In addition to collecting taxes, we are responsible for border protection. Now, one thing I must mention here, we are a developing country, so the government is depending a lot on the tax revenue, where in most of the developing countries, customs is collecting a lot of revenue for the government, so it gives more prominence to the collection of revenue above the border protection. But if you go to a developed country like USA, Australia, they are more focused, the customs administration is more focused on border protection. I'm not going to discuss about it now. Then also, we are a law enforcement agency in Sri Lanka. Anyone violating the customs law, customs officers themselves will investigate and prosecute within customs. I'm not going to elaborate on it because it's not within my topic. But finally, all these three functions are the key functions which is documented in customs legal framework, where we have some core function we consider which is very important, that is trade facilitation, which is a global initiative, global initiative as well as a local initiative. So there are so many initiatives globally, like the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, which talks about various recommendations for trade facilitation, and most of these recommendations could be implemented through using technology. So when it comes to trade facilitation, what we have done at Sri Lanka Customs, these are few of the initiatives. What trade facilitation is, when it comes to customs clearance, we have to minimize the time, we have to minimize the cost. It's basically time and cost reduction in customs clearance of imports and exports. And in order to do that, one of the main recommendation even under the WTO TFA is to introduce an automated system, automated cargo clearance systems. My next slide will be a detailed elaboration on how we have automated our cargo clearance system. Then we not only did that, we also provided in 2017 the online payment facility. And I'm proud to say Sri Lanka Customs is the first government agency to provide the online payment of the government fees, that's customs duties and other taxes. We did it in collaboration with Lanka Pay. I think you saw that logo a little while ago. I have a long story to share with you, but time does not permit me, because I was part and parcel in that development. At that time, I was working in the IT division of Sri Lanka Customs. Then we also introduce the container scanning system. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to examination of goods, we have to open the container, discharge the cargo and physically examine. But in the modern world, there is technology, scanning. So, we implemented the modern scanning system, one of the best scanning system available in the world right now, where the container drives through, there are static scanners and the container is driving through the scanner. All the images are displayed to the customs officer who can do the risk assessment based on the images displayed to him. So, we introduced them in the year 2020. It's called Rapid Scan. Then I am sure we all agree that in everything we do, if you want to talk about efficiency, you have to do risk management. That is the modern approach in increasing efficiency. Identify the compliant person, compliant trader when it comes to customs, facilitate him, release his cargo with the minimum time and with minimum intervention. So, how do you do that? Through risk management. So, we have incorporated automated risk management into our automated clearance system. I will elaborate it later. Then we introduced digital signature. During COVID time, we did paperless clearance. I can ask from the audience, did you have, of course the shops and all the marketplaces were closed. Those who distributed the food items, they distributed. So, those who could buy through the distributors of food items, was there any scarcity of onion? Was there any scarcity of potato? Was there any scarcity of dal? No, because we cleared everything. Was there any scarcity of medicine at that time? No. The entire country was locked down, but still customs worked. How did we work? We did paperless clearance. And in order to do paperless clearance, we introduced digital signature because authentication is very important when it comes to documents. And also we are now preparing for pre-arrival processing, where your goods will be cleared before the ship comes to the country. And finally, one of the most important initiative is the authorized economic operator, where we have now identified 31 companies in Sri Lanka. We offered them recently the tier 1 authorized economic operator. So, once this recognition is given and they are globally recognized as compliant, trustworthy traders, it comes with a global recognition because this authorized economic operator initiative is a global initiative by the World Customs Organization. Having said that, now let me take you to my final slide where I will demonstrate to you how we have automated our processes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I started my presentation, I asked the question, who had done the automation at the level best when it comes to private sector? So, the first one was the bankers, then the mobile phone operators. If you look at when they had to automate their business process, what are the challenges you will face when it comes to the automation of the banking transaction? It is the bank and the customer. When it comes to mobile operation, it is the operator and the customer. So, it is only two entities. It is a transaction between two entities. It is not that complex to identify the process and automate it. But look at how complex the customs clearance process is. Let us look at the entities we have to connect into this system. Centrally, the customs is the central system. And you have the importer, or sometimes importer himself cannot clear, the customs house agent, we call him customs broker. This is a separate entity, importer or the customs house agent. Then the shipping companies, those who transport goods. There are different categories of shipping operators called main line, steamers, freight forwarders, NVOCCs, there are different categories. So all these people do the transportation. Then you have the ports. These ships, aircrafts come in either berth or land in the port or airports. They keep the cargo in their custody until the importer comes and requests for delivery. So these ports pay a part of the customs process. Then the banks, the money of the importer is in his own account, in his bank. Now this money, whenever he has to make the payment of taxes, has to be transferred to the Director General's account. Fortunately, when we wanted to introduce online payment, we came across this the very important company called Lanka Pay, which is providing the banking platform or interbank transaction platform. So, but it is a separate entity. So 3 entities there itself. Then all the other board agencies, ladies and gentlemen, you must be aware, if you want to import something, there are certain products which are subject to restrictions, maybe by the Imports and Exports Controller, Sri Lanka Standard Institutes, National Medicines Regulatory Authority, Food Control Unit of the Health Department, the Ministry of Health, then plant quarantine, animal quarantine, it goes on to more than 30 other government agencies. So when you want to do clearance, customs clearance, these entities play a role. They have to be connected into this system. Right now we have connected 20 such entities. Then we have the scanning unit. It is separately located. There must be access to our system to the officers, those who are located in the scanning unit. It's a separate entity. Then the cargo examination units of Sri Lanka Customs. All these cargo examination operations earlier happening inside the port, now taken out of the port. And we have 3 cargo examination terminals in the region of Orugodavatta. That's why you have a lot of traffic over there. So these are separate, geographically separated entities. Now see, it's not simply a transaction between a bank and a customer. So how did we do that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me start with the shipping companies. When a ship calls at Colombo Harbour and discharges the cargo, the main responsibility of the captain of the ship, and it is mostly done by the agent on behalf of the captain, to inform customs what cargo they are discharging in Sri Lanka. That is the first information which comes to our system. When I joined customs, and even until the year 2010, this manifest, cargo manifest, was brought in paper. We have now completely eliminated paper. The entire cargo manifest is electronically uploaded as e-cargo manifest, including airlines. Earlier we did it for sea cargo, now we have extended it to air cargo. So ladies and gentlemen, we are not accepting any hard copies of manifest, it's fully electronic. Then the customs clearance process starts with the submission of the customs declaration. It is fully automated. Every customs declaration coming into customs has to be uploaded by the importer or his broker electronically, and that is available 24/7. Earlier, the customs declaration was manually printed, brought to customs office only between 9 AM to 4 PM of the day. Once the customs declaration is submitted, the system automatically assesses and electronically send the assessment notice to the broker or the importer. We send you a SMS. If you register your mobile phone with us as the importer, you will receive a SMS once the assessment is done and how much of taxes you have to pay against it. Then you log into your internet banking portal. I'm sure now more than 15 banks have joined this platform called LPOP. This is going through LPOP. So all the banks, those who have joined LPOP, you just log into your internet banking. You have an option or you have a link to pay government taxes or government payments. You log in, make the payment goes from your bank to Bank of Ceylon, that's the Director General's bank, and you receive a confirmation immediately, and the Lanka Pay system update our system, we call it e-payment update. It's fully electronic. When we launched this in 2017, I have many stories to share. The time does not permit me. I'm already out of my time. So then we have now implemented the e-payment confirmation. Thereafter, ladies and gentlemen, we do document processing. I'm not going to elaborate in detail, but I don't want to touch upon the automated risk management. Once the document is in the system automatically select it into 3 categories: green channel, amber channel, red channel. It is the system which takes that decision. Earlier it was a customs officer who took that decision, whether to release without examination, whether to release with test check, whether to release after 100% check. It was a decision by the customs officer. Now it is fully automated. It is a rule-based automation or the risk management system. Thereafter, we send the message electronically to the terminal because the cargo is in the port in one of the terminal, SLPA, SAGT or CICT. Earlier, this message was sent on a paper. There were a lot of forgeries, false signatures, false rubber stamps, and the containers were taken out without even knowledge of the customs. Now it is fully electronic. Without this electronic message, which is system to system integration, no manual intervention, so all the frauds were eliminated by this. Without this message, the terminal will not release the container to the importer. So once the container is released to the importer, if it is green channel, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any physical examination. It is directly released to the importer. Or sometimes randomly we do scanning, some even green channel containers, random selection, and then if there is no contrabands, we release them. But the amber channel and red channel containers are either directly sent to the examination point or scan and sent to the examination point. So at the examination point, customs officers, if it is an amber channel container, do a test check, random check. If it is a red channel container, 100% check. Ladies and gentlemen, I just got the statistics. At the moment, we release more than 60% of containers without examination under green channel. Then more than 40% under amber channel, and it's a very small percentage, about less than 5%, we do 100% examination. So once the examination is completed, we allow the other agencies, you can see the long list, they can log into our system. Without their permission, customs officer cannot release it because they are the final authority on certain products to give the final approval. So they log into our system, they put the tick, they put the tick on the checkbox and save it. Once it is done, the customs can release it and final exit is given from custom systems and you receive the final SMS message. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask that question now in Sinhala. Government sector එකේ කවුද හොඳටම කෙරුවේ? අපි තමයි හොඳටම කෙරුවේ. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just for quick questions, I think especially on Shanaka, because Shanaka was talking about encrypting our data earlier with the tax. And I would like to ask about, to make the audience awareness about the importance of backups.
Yeah, backups has a long history where we started backups on particularly tapes. Still, most of the organizations prefers to have it on tapes. But with the recent evolvement of technology, we have gone for easy medias like we have hard disk based backups, we have DVD based backups, and sometimes we back up to another computer, for example. Now, there are pluses and minuses on this. So recently I'm working with, I'll give you an example. Recently, one of the largest manufacturing organizations, which had quite a low-level, knowledgeable IT department, started backing up to another computer. So your main computer system is there, and to that you have a hard disk array, where the data is stored, called NAS, NAS is a lot of hard disk plugged into your network or a system, and you started backing up onto it. Sometimes vendors also tell this because it's faster, it's easier, recovery is easier because hard disk based backups. But the risk of this is, this client faced the problem. So when a malware hits to your network, to your server, and when the server is encrypted, the malware also will encrypt this backup device as well, which happened to this customer. And so even though theoretically you have a backup, you cannot restore it because the ransomware hits onto the entire network. So at least you should have a tape backup. So that tape backups are kind of more troublesome, more difficult to recover, sometimes will not work, but on a rainy day, it will also work. Or off-site backups, we say. Don't keep it on the same network. At least once a week, take that backup. These are all, some of you might say, old school habits, but because of the recent technology threats, these old school habits also really worked out.
I think just add the DR site.
Yes, and a DR site also. And again, we take a lot of precautions not to propagate the same malware to the DR site. That's another risk today, which we never had 5 years back. So we have to have various controls to stop the same malware propagating from a production site to the DR site. But DR is very important. Most of the critical organizations like telcos and banks today have more than one DR site, disaster recovery site. So if your primary site is down, you could still run the business as usual through a DR site with a minimum data loss and with a minimum business disruption. So these are good practices, and you need to have them to again, in terms of improving our resilience on an attack.
Thank you. There are lots of questions, but I think the time is also running. Dhanika, we are talking about everything is getting digital, and even the currency is now cryptocurrency. Just I want to check with you the impact of the e-commerce landscape in Sri Lanka with respect to cryptocurrency. What it would be like? What is your prediction as well?
Yes, doctor. So as I mentioned during my session, it's the cost of digital payments is becoming a major concern. So it's very important to select the right payment solution for the right needs. So it's great to see customs is using LPOP, which is powered by Lanka Pay for the digitization of custom payments. But if we consider about the others existing, for an example, revenue license, vehicle revenue license, still we have to use a Visa or MasterCard for that. And recently launched train tickets, digital train tickets, only accepts Visa and MasterCard as a payment. So every tickets bought by the passengers, there is a foreign exchange outflow happens, right? So that is not the way, right? In terms of cryptocurrency, it's actually a great way. Crypto is actually a very fast, secure, and borderless payment method, which actually we can use to reduce the cost of cross-border payments, right? We can use these all national initiatives and national payment methods to reduce the cost of domestic payments and stop foreign exchange outflows. But in terms of cross-border payments, the only option we have is the international card schemes. So cryptocurrency will actually play a major role in terms of facilitating cross-border payments, especially to the businesses who actually targets foreign customers. But in terms of regulatory aspects, still there are concerns, because still cryptocurrency is not actually recognized as a valid currency by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. So we expect that those regulatory frameworks will be updated. Once it is in place, it will be a great resource for us to address this cost of payments, of cross-border payments.
Okay, thank you, Dhanika. And also coming back to Sudattha, so I think I got some statistics about Sri Lanka customs. You have, I think, collected about close to 1 billion rupees last year, this year. So next year, I think you have a target about, I think, close to 1.5 trillion. So not like 1 billion, 1 trillion. So about 1.5. So what sort of challenges you have? Like you nicely explained, like how we are going to collect the data and how we are integrated the system. But still, what sort of challenges you are facing on that to achieve a bigger revenue collection?
Yeah, when it comes to automation in the government sector, the main requirement is the political will. We all know if the political will is not there, political will means not the politician, don't misunderstand in the verge of the presidential election. It is basically the enthusiasm of the top administrators, whether we should go for digital or not. Then internal and external resistance. I can remember I worked in the IT division for 8 years consecutively. There's so many challenges were there internally and externally, internal and external resistance, because that's for obvious reasons. When it comes to the political will, I must highlight the concept of national single window, which is again a recommendation in the WTO TFA, and it is also a recommendation by many other international initiatives. And a lot of countries, the developed countries, introduce this application, this system called national single window. We have been talking about it since 2015, but we are in 2024, 9 years, it has not come true. Even the World Bank helped us to develop a blueprint. Customs was involved, Customs and the Department of Commerce. We had the National Trade Facilitation Committee, Customs and Commerce, they co-chair. So with the assistance of the World Bank, we developed the blueprint, which was presented to the government way back in 2020, or late 2019. It's almost 5 years now. So that's the challenge. But when it comes to revenue collection, let me now tell a secret to the public, which I'm telling for the first time to the whole country. Ladies and gentlemen, last year was the highest revenue collection in the history of Sri Lanka Customs. That was 973 billion rupees. Earlier, the highest was 940 billion rupees. In 2018, that was the most successful year. Then we had all troubles, starting from Easter bomb blast in 2019, 2020 COVID, 2022 economic crisis. So all that, the revenue collection came down, but last year we had the highest revenue collection of 973 billion rupees in the entire history of customs. Then the government gave us a very, very huge task. That's 1.43 trillion rupees for this year. The secret is we are almost at the edge of reaching 1 trillion rupees by the end of August. As at yesterday, we had collected more than 990 billion rupees as tax revenue. So probably within these 3 days, because per day we now collect about 5 to 6 billion rupees. So within next 2 to 3 days, that's within the month of August, we are passing 1 trillion rupees. So we are left with another 4 months, ladies and gentlemen. So 1 trillion, another 4 months, which is the most highest revenue period of the year. We are sure that we can reach the target given to us by the government, that is to reach 1.4 trillion rupees as revenue.
I think your IT systems have given you like that advantage to reach up that level, right?
Exactly, Dr. Ajantha. If you look at the statistics of the revenue collection from 2010, after we introduced the Asikuda world, there's a rapid growth in collection of revenue, but as I mentioned earlier, due to unforeseen incidents which happened in 2019 and 2022 and 2020, the revenue collection was, so we cannot take those statistics for consideration. But if you look at the statistics of the other years, there's a rapid growth in collecting revenue, and there's a rapid growth in, rapid reduction of the frauds committed by the traders, and also rapid reduction of the corruption. I must openly say that. So that is contributing very well.
Yeah, thank you. I think I am about 10 minutes behind the schedule. So I will probably not come to the floor to ask questions because of the time. But however, I think if you have any specific questions, I will ask you to ask when they come down, because I think we have to finish the proceedings of the conference. We have come to the end. And I think since we are just behind the schedule, so I will hand over to the compeer.
Let's hear a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our final set of panelists. We'd now like to invite on stage to present the token we have with us the Vice President of the OPA, Mr. Ajantha Galaheva. We'd also like to invite the President and the President-elect to join us up as well. Our President is Mr. Sarath Gamage, President-elect Mr. Sujivalal Dhanika, who's also the Chairman of the Conference Committee. We'd now like to present tokens of appreciation to each of the speakers on stage. We'd like to invite Vice President of the OPA, Convener of the Conference Committee, Mr. Ajantha Galaheva, to do the honors of presenting this to the session chairman. This was session 5, ensuring economic transformation through advanced digital technology, and our chairman has been Dr. Ajantha Athukorale. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker that we'd like to appreciate is Mr. Shanaka de Silva. So we have a token coming his way. Cybersecurity Challenges and Solutions for Sri Lankan Businesses by Shanaka de Silva. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us. Let's put our hands together for Shanaka de Silva, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, we would like to honor the efforts of Dhanika Perera. We have a token of appreciation coming his way. He spoke to us about promoting e-commerce and digital payment solutions to drive growth. He is the CEO of Bhasha, Lanka Private Limited. So let's put our hands together for Dhanika Perera. And our final speaker for our final session has been Mr. Sudattha Silva, the Additional Director General of Customs. We have a token of appreciation coming your way. And with that, we have now officially felicitated the final speaker as well. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Sudattha Silva. Thank you very much to our esteemed set of panelists on stage. We invite you to take your seats in the audience, but of course I'd like to invite Mr. Ajantha to remain, because up next it's time for the final task on our agenda, and that's of course the vote of thanks to appreciate everybody involved in ensuring our annual conference is a great success. So with that being said, I'd now like to invite the Vice President as well as the Conference Committee Convener to do the honors. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Ajantha Galaheva.
Thank you, Ms. Rashmi. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is, as a convener and vice president of the 37th Annual Conference Committee of OPA, it's my great honor and privilege to extend my sincere appreciation and gratitude to all those whose wholehearted efforts have contributed to the success of this great event. So, I will rush through quickly. So first and foremost, we are deeply honored by the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. Your Excellency, your gracious attendance has undoubtedly added immense prestige and significance to this occasion. Also, all heartfelt thanks goes to Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, the Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, who delivered an insightful and thought-provoking keynote address yesterday evening. So, Dr. Veerasinghe, your vast knowledge, perspectives, and engaging presentation not only captivated the audience, but also set the tone for the conference, providing us with a solid foundation for the discussions that followed. We would also like to express our sincere gratitude to the session chairmen and guest speakers for their invaluable insights. Your expertise and contributions has been instrumental in enriching the content of this conference. And also we are deeply appreciate of the time and effort you have invested in sharing your knowledge with the audience. A special thanks goes to the president and secretaries of all 52 member associations of the OPA. Your generous contributions and active participation have played a crucial role in making this conference vibrant and dynamic. The collective efforts of your associations have been truly commendable. We are also grateful to our sponsors for their unwavering support, especially our platinum sponsor, Shanaka Life Insurance Company PLC, whose generous sponsorship has been a cornerstone of this event's success. Also, we must thank all our sponsors, Silva, Bronze, General, and all other categories for their generous sponsorships. We also wish to extend a special thank to Mr. Athukorale, past president of OPA, Director CEO of Innovative Pesticides Marketing Private Limited, for his generous sponsorship for the conference bags for all participants attending the technical session today. Our sincere gratitude and appreciation also extend to the leadership of OPA, President Mr. Sarath Gamage, President-elect Mrs. Sudattha Dhanika, Mr. Thisara Silva, General Secretary, Mr. Ruchira Perera, Treasurer, immediate past President, Ms. Ruchira Gunasekara, Mr. Darshan Vijayman, Assistant Treasurer, and the members of Annual Conference Committee, all past presidents, office bearers, members of the EXCO, and members of the General Forum of the OPA. Your invaluable guidance and support throughout the planning and execution of this conference have been instrumental in its success. We are grateful to Tikim Events Private Limited and Redfly for their creative solutions and unwavering commitment to delivering high-quality services. Your contribution has greatly enhanced an overall experience of this event. To all electronic and print media personnel and institutions, we extend our sincere thanks for the extensive coverage and publicity of the conference. Our heartfelt thanks also go to Ms. Trishma Pinto, the eloquent compeer of the 37th OPA Annual Conference, whose skillful moderation has ensured the smooth flow of the event. We would like to express our deep appreciation to the management and staff of Shangri-La, headed by Mr. Dimutu, for their exceptional hospitality during this conference. Your professionalism and attention to detail have greatly contributed to the comfort and satisfaction of our participants. A special thank go to Mr. Ajantha for his outstanding photographic coverage, and we extend our deepest gratitude to Mr. D.N. Seniviratna, the Center Director, and the staff of OPA Secretariat for their unwavering support and hard work in organizing this conference. Your dedication and tireless efforts behind the screen have been the backbone of this event's success. Finally, to all those who have contributed in numerous ways, your dedication and support have been invaluable in making this 37th annual conference a great success. We thank each and every one of you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you for all of you once again for your presence, participation, and continued support. May we continue to work together to achieve even greater heights in the future. Thank you very much and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much to Mr. Ajantha Galheva for those warm words of appreciation expressed. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the 37th annual conference of the OPA. We thank all of you for your wonderful participation and engaged and enthusiastic presence here. And as we wrap up this conference, let's take with us the knowledge gained and be committed towards the progress of our nation and its economy. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, at this exceptional event, and we hope to see you at the next event of the OPA. Thank you and have a nice evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.